So there's this viral video making the rounds that sounded a red alert over crime in the UK, and it's making some incredibly serious claims about a nation in crisis. Today, we're going to break down the narrative of that video step by step, just to understand the argument it's putting forward.
The video kicks things off with this one, huge number, 41,923. This, it claims, is how many sexual predators are currently on UK's streets. Right from the get-go, it's a figure that's meant to be shocking and set a really alarming tone for everything that follows. Okay, so the big question is, how do they get from that number to claims of riots in the streets and a pretty wild accusation against the government? Let's trace their steps, claim by claim, and see exactly how they build their case. All right, first things first. The video tries to establish that the UK is in a state of national emergency. It claims that parents have declared a red level threat, and it builds this argument on a foundation of some pretty key crime statistics. Now this right here, this is really the cornerstone of their whole argument. The video claims there's been a 62% increase in the number of foreigners convicted for sex crimes, and it presents this as one of the main drivers of this so-called crisis. And to really hammer home this sense of emergency, the video just rapid fires these statistics at you. You've got violent attacks happening every few minutes, combined with claims of systemic failures like prisons being literally full to the brim. It's all meant to paint this picture of a country where danger is, just around every corner. Okay, so after hitting you with all those numbers, the video shifts gears. It moves from statistics to accountability. The argument here is that this isn't just happening by chance. It's the direct result of what the nation's political leaders have or haven't done. And this gets to a central accusation in the video, something it calls a two-tier hypocrisy. It alleges that the leader it names, Keir Starmer, is out there urging tolerance, but behind the scenes, he's banning key details from crime reports. The video claims this effectively creates a system that protects criminals over citizens. And wow, they really use some stark, emotional language to make their point. You can see how a quote like this is designed to frame the government's priorities not as just some policy disagreement, but as a deliberate and dangerous choice between protecting citizens and protecting foreign nationals. So, after pointing fingers at the politicians, the video takes us down to the streets. It wants to show what it claims are the real-world consequences. A public that has just had enough of the official response, leading to a total breakdown of social order. So let's look at the timeline they lay out for one particular protest. It says it starts with local fathers marching, then escalates to a migration center being surrounded, clashes with police, and then, boom. According to the source, it all descends into total unbridled chaos, complete with looting and arson. Now, here's what the video claims was the real turning point. It alleges that a radio order went out to the police, telling them their priority was to protect the migrants inside the center, not to stop the mob outside, and they present this as proof positive that the authorities have their priorities all wrong. Okay, and this is where the argument really escalates. We're moving beyond claims of incompetence or hypocrisy. Now, the video is suggesting a deliberate, calculated political conspiracy is at play. So, to explain why anyone would do this, the video brings up this term, demographic engineering. It defines this as a conscious strategy to change the makeup of the population to, well, basically import a future electorate that will be dependent on the state and keep the current leadership in power. And they break down how this vote banking supposedly works. It's a 4-step process, according to them. The theory goes like this. Migrants arrive, they get state protection and support for 5 years. And then, after that, they're given a passport and the right to vote. And just like that, a loyal, grateful voting bloc is secured. And this quote, man, it really sums up their most explosive accusation. They're framing this not as a mistake or a policy failure, but as a deliberate plot that the British taxpayer is actually being forced to pay for, a plot for their own political replacement. So after laying out this pretty dire picture, the video then pivots to what it presents as solutions. And it does this by highlighting a series of counterproposals from opposition figures like Nigel Farage and Donald Trump. And you'll notice the solutions they offer are, well, they're not small ones. They are immediate and they are harsh. We're talking about mass deportations, creating special enforcement squads, and even bringing back capital punishment for certain crimes. They're all positioned as what's necessary to take back control. So in the end, the video paints this picture of a complete deadlock. On one side, you have these calls for drastic action, and on the other, you have a government that, according to the video, just points to the Human Rights Act and says, nope, impossible.
And the video doesn't really wrap things up with a neat summary. Instead, it leaves you with this one final, pretty stark warning about what it sees as the collapse of the state's most basic job. Their whole final point boils down to this idea of the social contract, that deal where we give up some freedom in exchange for the government keeping us safe. And the video's argument is, what happens when the government tells you you can't defend yourself, but also fails to keep you safe? They say, that's it, the contract is broken. And that is the really provocative question the video leaves you with. It frames the whole situation as this impossible choice. Do you rely on a state that you feel has failed you, or do you take matters into your own hands? It's a really stark warning, and it's absolutely designed to stick with you long after the video ends.